In this episode of NBA Sports Talk with Walter Strawn III, we're going to break down 7 points on why the Brooklyn Nets in 2023 are poised to have a breakout season. On top of that, as a bonus, we're going to hear from the voice of the Long Island Nets basketball team, the G League of the Brooklyn Nets, one Anthony A. Smalls, a.k.a. Tony Love, and we're starting right now. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NBA Sports Talk with Walter Strawn III. If you're new here and you want to talk about NBA basketball and more from a fan's perspective, we welcome you to the show. And as we said this evening, we're going to be talking about the Brooklyn Nets and this season on why they are poised to have a breakout season for the 2023-2024 season, plus a special bonus. We're going to hear from the voice of the Long Island Nets, the Brooklyn Nets G League basketball announcer who announces their games here in Uniondale, Long Island, New York. So we're going to hear from the inside as well as give our points. But if you're just joining us, if you are in the chat, let me know where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live in the chat. And if you're watching the replay of this special episode, you got to give me a hashtag replay in the comment section. So let's do this. We're going to get into the content real quick because we want to bring on the voice of the Long Island Nets, Tony Love, on. So let's just crank this content out right quick, and then we're going to bring him on. So if you are a Brooklyn Nets fan, hey, you need to be excited for this year. You need to be excited for this year. I know for the last 2 years, there were great expectations that unfortunately was met with a lot of disappointment. Kevin Durant now is in Phoenix. Kyrie Irving is in Dallas. James Harden is being James Harden with the Sixers. So you are all good. But guess what you got back from that trade for Durant and for Irving? Newsflash, you had a great end season with the Nets getting to the playoffs, losing to the Sixers in 5 games. But this season, I really believe the Brooklyn Nets in this team preview are poised for a breakout season. So let's get into point number 1. This is a young and exciting roster. When you look at this young and exciting roster, from Nick Claxton to Cameron Johnson, who I call Cam Johnson, you got Mikal Bridges. Oh, you got Spencer Dinwiddie returning for a second stint as the veteran point guard, as well as you got Cam Thompson, who last year dropped 4 40-point games. This is a very young and exciting, talented team. The Brooklyn Nets, they're on no one's radar. ESPN's not talking about them. Fox is not talking about them. None of the other top sports are not talking about them. They are under the radar. And so I really believe with this young, talented, exciting team who's going to really compete hard, be competitive this season, and they're going to develop team chemistry, they're poised for a breakout season. Point number 2, not only are they poised for a breakout season, they're also going to be a team that's going to develop an identity of defense. When you look at Mikal Bridges, not only has he started to emerge as a budding offensive superstar, which didn't just happen in Brooklyn. I believe this started in Phoenix when Devin Booker was down and when Phoenix asked him to take on the offensive scoring load, and he began to get that opportunity. But the good thing was when he got traded from Phoenix to Brooklyn, he still kept it going on. And so you have him from the offensive side, but he can play defense. Cameron Johnson, who can play defense. Nick Claxton, who I believe is going to be the anchor for the Brooklyn Nets defense. You have a team that's going to develop an identity, a team of defense, and most importantly, they're going to be coached. They want to be coached. You don't have to worry about hearing, or we can be coached by ourselves. Those players and those voices are gone. You don't have to worry about a star coach personality like Steve Nash. He's moved on. It's now time for Jacques Vaughn to coach this team into a defensive juggernaut that puts fear in opponents night after night, being competitive on both sides of the ball, playing defense, and bringing it home when it matters. Point number 3, the Ben Simmons factor. Let me say that again. If you're just joining me, we're talking about 7 points on why the Brooklyn Nets are poised to have a breakout season this season, but it's also going to include the Ben Simmons factor. What is the Ben Simmons factor? It's about his health. This guy says he's healthy on his recent interview he just had. Okay, enough talk, Ben. You got to be healthy. Back injuries are tricky to come back from. If you think about Dwight Howard, who was a 3-time defensive player of the year, back to back to back, and then when he got tricked, he ended up signing with the Lakers, leaving the Magic because he had this back injury. Unfortunately, his first stint with the Lakers was a train wreck. And part of the reason why it was a train wreck was because he had a back injury. And so, Ben, if you truly had a back injury and you're saying now you're healthy, your health is going to be a part of the factor. On top of that, you got to buy into the 6-man role. Ben Simmons has to buy into the 6-man role. Him not starting, you got Dinwiddie at the point, you got McHale at the 2, and you got Cameron Johnson, Nick Claxton. Ben Simmons has to buy into the 6-man role. Now, am I asking for him to win the 6th Man of the Year award? No, but I'm asking for him, and the Brooklyn Nets need to ask of him to be a top candidate for the 6-man role. And then finally, the most important part, this Ben Simmons factor, no more distractions. No more distractions in terms of the clothes you wear. No more distractions in terms of you on your phone during practice. No more distractions. And the Ben Simmons factor is going to be a key in the Brooklyn Nets having a breakout season for the 2023-2024 NBA season. Hey, if you're getting great value out of this episode of the Brooklyn Nets preview NBA basketball, do me a favor, click that thumbs up button. Share this on your favorite social media platform. Let's continue on. Another point, the Brooklyn Nets have a solid bench that they're building. They've gotten Royce O'Neal from a trade from Utah last year. They got Dorian Finney-Smith that they got from the trade with Kyrie Irving. You add also the simple fact that you have Cam Thomas from last year, who, as I said, had 4 40-point games, along with other defensive players, young players that they have. The Brooklyn Nets are poised to have a breakout season. We want to move on because I said we're going to bring on the voice of the Long Island Nets, which is the G League team for the Brooklyn Nets, who has a post on the Brooklyn Nets as their announcer. So, hey, we want to move on. Let's look at their key additions. When you look at the key additions, Lonnie Walker IV, who came from the Los Angeles Lakers, who was really getting some quality minutes over there last year, I believe he's going to be a key addition. You have Dennis Smith Jr., who was over there with Charlotte, who's starting to have a resurgence and a second chance career, who came from Charlotte, is over here with the Brooklyn Nets. And then you end up getting the rookie Noel Clowney, who's going to be a solid backup center for Nick Claxton. These are some great key additions that I believe that's going to help the Brooklyn Nets have a breakout season. Let's continue on. Predictions. What are my predictions for the Brooklyn Nets this NBA season? They made the playoffs last year. Though they lost in 5 games, they made the playoffs. They need to make the playoffs again. And even if they just make the 8th seed, I believe they're going to build on this team. This is going to be a team. And the way I envision the Brooklyn Nets this year, and it's going to be interesting to see and hear what Tony says, they remind me of a mold of the Detroit Pistons. That's right, I said it, Florence. Good evening. The Detroit Pistons from 2004. Chauncey Billups, Rick Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, Ben Wallace, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, and the rest of that crew. Corliss Williams as a 6-man. That's the reason why I say Ben Simmons has to be a person who embraces the 6-man role. And if they end up making the playoffs, I think they're going to end up facing either Milwaukee or Miami and go 6 games. Hey, this is a great building start. The other thing is Mikal Bridges is poised to make an all-star berth and being selected to the NBA All-Star this year. He has the talent, he has the tools and the keys. That's definitely a prediction I'm looking to see. And I'm looking also for Nick Claxton to be a top front runner for the Defensive Player of the Year, being a top candidate who anchors the defense for the Nets. That's my prediction for him. That's my prediction. And then finally, I want to talk about the man who's going to bridge the future for the Brooklyn Nets in having a breakout season. That man is Mikal Bridges. As I said, he's a two-way player. Not only is he starting to develop as an offensive player, but he's a solid defensive player. I believe he's going to elevate this team at every position to play at the level that he's pushing for, and he's going to be a budding team leader. This guy is going to bridge the future in helping the Brooklyn Nets be competitive and have a breakout season. And so, question of the day for those of you who are watching me live here on NBA Sports Talk with Walter Strong III, what's your thoughts on the Brooklyn Nets? Do you see them in the AFC? Do you see them trying to get into the play-in? Do you see them going higher? Let me know in the chat or in the comments section your thoughts. And so I want to say good evening right quick to Mr. Tech Troublemaker, who's joining us live here on NBA Sports Talk, and my dear sister, the #1 Washington Wizards fan, Florence Donald, in the live chat. And those of you who are watching us as well, make sure you subscribe to the NBA Sports Talk with Walter Strong III YouTube channel. Click the alert notification button and join the conversation in the live chat or the comment section. And so that's the content. Now it's time for the bonus. And that bonus simply is we want to bring on the voice of the Long Island Nets, Mr. Anthony A. Small, who I've been knowing personally for over at least good 10 years, who was a fellow brother in my own church. So when I was excited to see how he got this start in being the voice of the Long Island Nets, I was able to go to one of his first games that he called for them, and he's been a constant voice. And so we want to get his thoughts on some of these things that we've talked about tonight. So we want to welcome the one, the only, Mr. Anthony A. Smalls. Good evening, sir. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can see you loud and clear. Can you guys first? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but we need to get a good visual picture of you.
So I'm going to ask your people to understand that I'm actually going through a dental process. So I'm getting a set of implants. So I'm not happy yet. We're almost there.
All right. No problem. No problem.
God ain't through with me yet, but I want to come on, and I don't do too many close-ups right now so we get all this dental work done. We're almost there, but my voice can be heard. You can see me, and I'm glad to talk to your audience. I'm glad to be here this evening and talk about our beloved Brooklyn Nets and, of course, our Long Island Nets.
Perfect. Hey, sir, thanks for just taking out your time and making the sacrifice. So you've heard the content that I've just went over. Let's talk about this bright, young, exciting roster. You know, being able to move forward from the Kevin Durant, turning the page from the Kevin Durant, turning the page from the Kyrie Irving, and definitely shoving out the door the James Harden drama. Your thoughts on this young, exciting roster?
Oh, we in the Nets family, we're excited. We're honestly excited. I know everybody says that about their franchise, but we really are excited because what we got back for Kevin Durant and Kyrie, we got back ball players,
Mm-hmm,
guys,
mm-hmm.
and we got back guys that want to be here. Obviously, you mentioned Bridges. Dinwiddie's happy to be back. Cam Johnson, we are so ecstatic about what's about to happen in Brooklyn. This is actually come together quicker than we expected after we lost Durant and we
Mm-hmm.
lost Kyrie. We thought that maybe we'd be looking at some futility for maybe 2 or 3 years. And honestly, we don't feel that way right now. If we talk to any of us in the family, we believe we may have got not necessarily the superstar players, but we are a better team right now. We have every reason to believe we're deeper, we're better, more cohesive, and the team likes each other. The guys really, really like each other, and that's a big chemistry in NBA basketball. Putting a team together of guys that want to be play with each other.
Definitely, definitely. We're talking about 7 points here with the voice of the Long Island Nets, Tony Love, aka Anthony Smalls of the Long Island Nets and Brooklyn Nets family here on NBA Sports Talk with Walter Strom III. You know, Tony, it's interesting. This is like the Brooklyn Nets' second stint of trying to have a star-driven team. It kind of reminds me of that first stint they did with Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, and then they went and got Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. They ended up having Jason Kidd, and eventually that flamed out. And then they tried to do it again with those two go-arounds with the Steve Nash, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. Do you believe that the Brooklyn Nets can now kind of focus now being instead of an individual star driven team to just being a team basketball?
Right. We do feel that. Basically, we went out the last 10, 15 years and tried to bring in established stars, as you said, when we brought in Garnett and Paul Pierce and
Mm-hmm.
some of the other efforts. The Jason Kidd side part of it really wasn't that bad because Kidd did take us to 2 NBA championships, but we didn't win either one of those. What's unique about this team is that there are guys like Bridges who can become superstar nets. Guys that they've got all the playing time, they've got all the opportunity, all the ability. We are, instead of taking other people's leftover superstars, we now have the opportunity to develop some of our own. And I think, for example, Cam Johnson, obviously Bridges, and one or two others. I'm telling people to watch my brother Cam Thomas. Besides Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas, when we were going through the transition, was dropping 40 a night. And that wasn't a fluke. He's got the
Mm-hmm.
ability to be a phenomenal, worldly free type of scorer. And we expect that. I mean, every time I see him in practice, he is a phenomenal NBA player, shooter, a scorer. Cam Thomas is going to be reckoned with this year. He's going to get plenty of opportunity.
Definitely. Hey, we're talking about 7 points on why the Brooklyn Nets are poised to have a breakout season in the NBA 2023-2024. I'll give you this comparison. You let me know if I'm off. You're going to probably say I'm off being from the Detroit basketball.
You and your Pistons, that's right.
But I kind of see Dinwiddie like Billups. I see Bridges like a Rip Hamilton. I see Cameron Johnson like a Tayshaun Prince. And a Nick Claxton like Ben Wallace. Do you see the makeup of this team kind of being a team-focused, defensive-minded players where they can compete against the Milwaukee and Miami, similar like Detroit did?
Well, I love the comparison you made with Cam Johnson and Tayshaun Prince. Absolutely. That is a great comparison. Obviously, the three-point shot is more emphasized now. Mm-hmm. But because Cam Johnson, if you give him an opportunity, will fry you from deep. But he'll do all the other things, too, if that's not needed for him. So I love that comparison. And, yeah, you know what? I'm not a Detroit fan, but I think that team that you are referencing this team certainly is like a 2.0 version of that team, because I say 2.0 because the element that this team will have that Pistons team didn't have to have is the 3-point shot, whether you love it or hate it, is here now to stay. And I would say we have legitimately 4 solid 3-point shooters that, you mess around and not get close to us, we will fry you from deep. And the Celtics, the Pistons team that you're talking about, maybe Rip Hamilton, might have been your real deep threat. But that team definitely had a great mid-range game and down low game. We do that as well. But like I said, now that the 3-point part of the NBA is so big, that's the part that your Pistons didn't have. I'm not saying they couldn't do it. It just wasn't emphasized at that time.
Right.
But it's a great comparison to that Pistons team. I can live with that comparison.
Definitely. Hey, if you're getting great value out of this episode of NBA Sports Talk with Walter Strong III, our special guest, Anthony A. Smalls, the voice of the Long Island Nets, a.k.a. Tony Love, do me a favor, click that thumbs up button, hit that like button, share this on your favorite social media platform. Along with the Pistons, they had a guy named Big Nasty, Corliss Williamson from the Arkansas Razorbacks. With who was the coach, Tony? Man,
of Detroit?
No, of the Arkansas.
The brother. God, only thing I know I know you're talking about. I can't think of the moment. Your brother was a coach out there, absolutely.
Right. So Corliss Williamson was a 6-man. He was the man who anchored the 6-man.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about the Ben Simmons factor and him embracing a 6-man role?
Ben Simmons is going to be the X factor for how good we are this year. And I say X factor because your first comparison is who we are, whether Ben Simmons plays or not. We're a 7 or 8 seed. We're going into as if we don't know what we're going to get from him. The rest of that team can definitely fight all season for a 7-8 seed. But if Ben Simmons buys into what we're doing right now and gives us that Corliss Williamson, and shout out to my fraternity brother Corliss Williamson, I got to know him very well back in the day. He was those of you that don't know, we're both members of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, so I got to know Corliss well. If we could get Ben Simmons to buy in like that, we may be talking 4 or 5. That's how much of a difference he would make, because he would give us. Remember, Ben Simmons was on the cusp of being a superstar himself before he went, before he lost his head. He was on the cusp of being that second great player in Philadelphia. And if we could just get him close to that guy again, he definitely gives us a chance at that 5 seed.
Which I think is important for him, like you're saying, for him to be healthy, not only from a physical standpoint, but even from a mental standpoint. Because, and listening to some interviews that I've heard recently about Dwight Howard, who was a 3-time defensive player of the year, and who was also, in my opinion, he was a good example of a 2-way player who could hurt you offensively, but it's just defensively. But when he had that back injury, that ended up becoming a train wreck for him being over there to the Lakers as a free agent. And so I wonder, okay, let's call it for face value. Maybe he just really had a real back injury along with some other stuff. But can he really be healthy physically and mentally? Your thoughts?
I have to believe he can.
Okay.
I've seen him physically. We saw him working out over on our facility on 4th Avenue. If what we see ever makes it to the floor of the Barclay, and he seemed like he left last season after he accepted there wasn't going to be a trade, he went into preparation mode. He physically looks amazing. He's never been a great shooter, and we never asked him to be a great shooter. But if you remember him in the playoffs against the Nets one year, matter of fact, he got moves to the hole that'll rival any of the modern day players. I see the guy just really being, as I said before, he's an X factor, and I think this is even if he wants to get traded, he realizes he's going to have to play. Yeah, his trade value is so low. He's got to show the world who Ben Simmons is again. And I think that if he does show the world who Ben Simmons is world again, he's not going to get a better opportunity right here in Brooklyn because there's a job with his name on it all year. If he would give us his maximum effort, he's a starter. He could be a man off the bench, like you said. If he came off the bench, he's already top candidate for sixth man of the year. If he in fact gives us the commitment, top candidate.
Right, definitely. And then even looking at the bench of Brooklyn, let's just hypothetically say that he's healthy mentally, but again, the back injury is tricky. So let's say he needs another year with that back. Similar like how Dwight did. You got a bench, man. You got Royce O'Neal. You got Dorian Finney-Smith. Like you said, you got Cam Thompson and some others. Talk about this bench. I'm really paying attention. And I had to make them my eighth seed.
I mean, you mentioned definitely Lonnie Walker. People might remember Lonnie Walker is the guy that kind of became a quick star for the Lakers there in the playoffs. We all know who Dennis Smith Jr. is. Obviously, Royce O'Neal, Dorian. Trying to think who am I missing. Amani Brooks is going to be here now. David Jr. is going to be coming back. Day'Ron Sharp, backup center who can give us definitely a lot of hustle. And of course, as you said, if we give Clowney an opportunity as a rookie, boy, there's not a bad person on that bench. Right now, every name I call, that is our bench. We don't have a slouch in that bench. We don't have a lot of height. And that will probably be the first thing anybody says about us. But we have athletes on that bench, and we're going to make people work. We're not bringing any bums off the bench this year. Everybody steps in the court. If they just stay within themselves from Dennis Smith on up, they can play. We're deep. Our bench is deep. Very deep.
Definitely. We're talking about 7 important points on why the Brooklyn Nets are going to have a breakout season. They're poised. This team is truly poised to have a breakout season with the voice of the Long Island Nets, Anthony Small, a.k.a. Tony Love. If you're just watching us, let me know in the chat where you're watching me. Give me a hashtag Team Live. If you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag Team Replay. Before I ask you for your predictions, what's your one concern about this Brooklyn Nets? Is it the coach? Because he's had a couple of stints in Orlando and, filling in here with the Nets on the intern, or is it something else?
Well, Jacques was given the position. He's no longer the intern. He is now the head coach. Jacques and I have a great history because we're both Jayhawks. So Jacques and I have bonded quickly. We are the Jayhawk connection, and in Brooklyn, as people call us. And we are very proud to ruffle all the other schools on in the program. Jacques knows basketball, and I think that this team has responded to him. You saw this team respond to him the minute Nash left. The response was amazing. Even when Durant was still here, the winning began. Because even with Nash here, we still weren't winning with Durant and Kyrie. But once Nash left, we started putting it together. If you remember, I think we had a 10-game winning streak at one point. And Jacques, even when we finally got rid of the stars, we were still playing about 550, 600 basketball. So I believe that Jacques is the right man at the right time. The player, he is a former NBA player. A lot of people don't know he's a former NBA champion with the San Antonio Spurs.
Yes.
He could, and when I say Spurs, that means he knows Popovich. He's the right guy. He's a player's coach. When you hear his pep talks, he's Dion Light. If I can use it, what you don't get to see behind closed doors. His pep talks are very Dion Light. It doesn't end with "Give me my theme music," but his motivation is relatively the same because the players love him and respect him, and they give him his all. Spencer Dinwiddie is also a guy, because he's been here before. Spencer's like the coach on the court. And, he picks up everybody. That's what Spencer's role is really going to be the most valuable. So we got a nice coaching team. Our last year G League coach is now on the bench in Brooklyn. We're a family. The Nets have built a team that everybody, I can't express to you enough how close this team is already. Some of the public service projects we've done all summer, where you expected one or two guys to show up, and everybody showed up. These things don't go on the paper, but you might schedule Dorian Finney-Smith to show up, and when you look up, here comes everybody. Here comes both the Cams. Here comes Bridges. Bridges ran a camp. You probably saw. Bridges ran a camp this summer, and over in Manhattan, and it was a little overpriced at first, and he wasn't getting the membership he wanted, and so he went in and restructured the whole pricing so that kids could afford that summer camp. He really structured it well. He said, "I'd rather have kids here than kids' money." And so we're gonna be fine. I'm not gonna predict. I'll wait for you to get to that part. But yes, don't Jacques Vaughn, my fellow Jayhawk. He's ready. He's so ready.
Definitely. Hey, we're talking about 7 important points. We've covered 7 points on why the Brooklyn Nets are poised to have a breakout season. So we'll just transition. Give me your predictions. I have them as an AC. That's why I led with them in this NBA team preview, only covering 16 out of the 30. But give me your predictions. I have them as the AC. I have Mikal Bridges, who I believe is going to be the bridge to the Nets' future, making an all-star selection, and Nick Claxton as a Defensive Player of the Year top candidate. Give me your 3 predictions for this exciting team.
For things to expect from this team, do you want my prediction of what we're going to finish, or just 3 points to look for this team this year?
3 points.
I expect the first point I'll make. I'm telling people Cam Thomas is not a fluke. The Nets are going to, Kyrie's gone now. He doesn't have to worry about being the backup to the backup. He's a backup now, but if you know basketball, he's the Vinny Microwave backup now. If you know it, I use that reference because you know who that is for your team.
Yes.
So he goes from being the third, he gets to play Vinny now. And if anybody knows ball, Vinny was a bad man. Shout out to Brooklyn, New York, with Vinny, obviously from Brooklyn, doing very well in business now. So I would just tell people, number one, Cam Thomas is going to be given a great shot to be a great player and play that role as well as he can. Number 2, you hit it earlier. You said it lightly, but you were right. If we can get Clowney, the rookie, he's got so much ability. If we can get him up to NBA par quickly, and that's an if, but that was a really good pick for us. That was considering a team that needed height, needed a center, athletic, to back up Claxton. Watch him. If they can get him to where they want him this year, and I believe we can, we're already a different team. And him and Ben, people forget Ben Simmons is not short. Ben Simmons, at best, I think he's a tad bit taller. At best, he's 6'9", 6'10". He is long. So if we can get Clowney and Ben Simmons, neither one that we've seen yet in a net uniform perform, and none of our predictions right now is based on either one of those players. But if both of them make a contribution, watch out. And my third point, as everybody said, we're about to see a superstar in Bridges. Mikal Bridges loves it here. He's got the temperament for New York. He's from Philadelphia, if you guys know that. And he always said, his family comes like every game, like Philly. Philly is relatively close, but they're driving like they're just coming across Manhattan Bridge, so they get here. So he got family support. You can't ask for anything better. The fans here took a liking and loving to him already. He played in the world tournament, so he made a name for himself, even though the team didn't medal. But that's a
Right.
great experience for him as well. Bridges, the sky's the limit. Those are my three. Bridges,
Mm-hmm.
Clowney, and I'm calling Clowney and Simmons as a tie. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, watch Cam. I love your Pistons in the sense of when I did watch them because I was from Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Benny was my dude, and so was John Sally. Shout out to Brooklyn again. And
Mm-hmm.
boy, if they let Cam loose, like I said, this boy was dropping 40s. This guy
Mm-hmm.
was dropping 40s when we got
Mm-hmm.
rid of Kevin Durant and Kyrie. And
Right.
imagine they just give the ball to him on an every night basis. He could be 17 to 20 points off the bench every night.
Let me ask this bonus question for the audience. And those of you who are just joining me, we're here on NBA Sports Talk with Walter Strong III. Our guest, Anthony A. Smalls, the voice of the Long Island Nets.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live. This is a young team, Tony.
Yeah.
This is a very young team.
Yeah.
Where is the Udonis Haslam of this team?
Believe it or not, that's Spencer Dinwiddie. Right now, Smith and Dinwiddie are our long tooth players, if you want to call them that. Dinwiddie, definitely the players look up to him now in that role, and he relishes that role.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So and Dinwiddie's been here before, so it took no time for him to acclimate himself to New York. And he came right in as he tried to first fit in as a player,
Mm-hmm.
but behind that door, he came in as a voice to the players. So clearly, the players would get that from Dinwiddie. And I know he's always coming back from injury as far as Dennis Smith Jr. If Dennis Smith just plays within himself, he's a wily veteran now. He's no longer, he's no longer 2-3 years in the NBA. He's been, and he comes from basketball royalty.
Mm-hmm.
So coming from basketball royalty, now having about 6 years under his belt himself, those two guys will provide leadership. And they're those kind of leaders. They're not selfish. They're not here to make a name for themselves, but they want to come here. And I know Smith really wants to have a breakout season. He's got all the talent in the world. Something always goes wrong. Just when you think he's about to get hot, and then there's that injury that ends the season, or he's out for 25 games, already. So
Right.
I think those are the two guys that we don't have Udonis Haslam, but that's our aging as far as on this team. Definitely with Dinwiddie and Smith.
Definitely. Hey, man, it is exciting. Man, just real quick, just a quick plug. Those of you who are in the chat watching live or hashtag Team Replay, if you are in the Long Island area, Uniondale, New York, when is going to be the debut of the Long Island Nets season? So people can come to, buy a JetBlue airfare and come in and watch a home live game. When is the upcoming Long Island Nets?
We are opening on November 10th.
Mm-hmm.
We have back-to-back games November 10th and 11th at the Nassau Coliseum. It is one of the most beautiful buildings inside and outside in the G League. When you come inside, it's the mini Barclay. It is a professional arena. It is not somebody's recreation gym. It is and I say that because a lot of G League teams play in recreation gyms, but we are a full-fledged arena. We have the full-fledged arena experience, in terms of seating, amenities, refreshments, food, the whole work. We have bounce houses for the kids and game rooms. We do a full package in Long Island that sometimes you can bring your kids and they can't even tell you that there was a game. Only reason they're alive is because we provide babysitting, the whole works. But it's a great experience. And all that begins on November 10th and 11th, double hit back-to-back games. And we're all really, really excited for Long Island Nets season as well.
All right. We're going to have to look to have you on before the 10th and 11th to do a Long Island Nets preview show.
Yeah.
And so we're definitely going to have you back, and we're definitely going to have to be in the house on the 10th and the 11th. So just real quick, I want to put you in the green room, but I want to thank you for coming on and giving us your important feedback on the Brooklyn Nets being poised for this breakout season. So I'm just going to put you in the green room.
Not a problem, bro.
Bring this train into a station. All right, there, family. There we have the voice of the Long Island Nets, Mr. Anthony A. Smalls, aka Tony Love, who I've been knowing for at least over 10 years. This man can definitely raise the roof and the pulse of the fans and his team, the Long Island Nets. And so your thoughts, those of you who are watching me live, just joining me, what's your prediction for the Brooklyn Nets? I got them as the 8th seed. Mikal Bridges, birthing an all-star, and also Nick Claxton, Defensive Player of the Year top candidate. What's your thoughts? Either in the chat or in the comment section if you're watching the replay. And so as we get ready to bring this to a close, I just have one important favor from you, and that simply is make sure you subscribe to the new NBA Sports Talk with Walter Strong III YouTube channel. Click that subscribe button. Click that alert notification button. Join the conversation in the comment section, and we will see you Sunday, 8 p.m. We're going to be covering the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm predicting them as the 8th seed for the West. Oh, you say, Walter, they were the 2 seed. Tune in as we get into why they are dropping down to 8. We'll see you on Sunday.